There's something to celebrate in New Jersey. Across the state, increasing numbers of pupils with significant disabilities are being included in regular classrooms. Inclusion is a movement toward the least restrictive environment. Here in Union City, it's Inclusion Week, and that's giving these children something to sing about.
When kids start with us at 3 years old, and they have the opportunity to be integrated at such a young age, we're finding that they are learning at an incredible rate.
When included in regular classes, students with disabilities interact with their peers academically and socially. They learn not only academic subjects, but about each other as well.
The most positive thing about inclusion is that you're taking labels off kids. They're no longer handicapped, they're no longer special education, they're kids.
Students with disabilities benefit from inclusion.
By being included in everyday activities, by being part of the academic program, and by seeing themselves as regular ed kids. Nothing special.
The challenges our students face can become the successes we all share. New initiatives in education are aiding students with disabilities in experiencing joy, pride, and accomplishment. To help reach our vision of the future, the Comprehensive System of Personnel Development presents Inclusion in Action, Successful Programs in New Jersey. Inclusion depends on the use of a variety of other support personnel for the included pupil. These include special education teachers, speech-language specialists, child study team members, classroom aides, and others. The main point is keeping the child together with non-disabled peers. This requires redesigning lessons, modifying curriculum, and providing support services. Inclusion can work in a variety of ways. Strategies include cooperative group learning, peer tutoring, the use of teacher aides in the classroom, circle of friends, and team teaching. These support networks and strategies have been evolving in school districts across the state. Let's go into the classrooms of New Jersey, where our camera candidly captured an inside look at inclusion in action.
We find ourselves just taking a look at all different kinds of kids and the kind of labels that we might have given these students in the past and the mindset that we may have attached to those particular labels. And one of the things that has happened with the Inclusion Project is that we're starting to take a look at students separate from the labeling piece of it, so that as we're looking at students' strengths and weaknesses and we're taking a look at the kinds of programs that we can provide, we find our minds are open to exploring different kinds of program options for students and not thinking about them only in the same, what I call the old traditional ways. My child study team members are coming more frequently to me and discussing the kinds of program options that we can provide now for these students that may not have been the traditional options in the past. And that may include the supports of personal aides that assist students, some with emotional difficulties, and they support them to be fully in the mainstream setting. And we're working with the parents as well, now necessarily because their child has been identified as being disabled or labeled as a particular type of handicapping condition. It's not necessarily mean that they have to attend either a self-contained class with children similar to themselves, or that they need perhaps to go to an out-of-district placement to a private school or public school program because your own particular district does not have one. I think that as we're more and more successful with children and all different types of children, it just opens your mind more, and we're all being much more open to thinking about what we can do to really have these children become more of an integrated part of our society and to feel more accepted within their community.
Inclusion challenges not only methods, but attitudes as well. Teacher support plays a key role in meeting the challenge.
I was a little nervous at first because I had a group of 8 children in my summer school program, and Mark didn't ever sit in group time. He was underneath the tables and very unresponsive to me.
With the help of an aide and a special education teacher, Karen's team teaching efforts quickly helped Mark become more comfortable with the class.
Mark just wanted to blend in with the rest of the kids, and he made that decision to try to fit in with the other children in the room. And So you found that Mark was doing all the other things that the children were doing. When they were sitting in group, Mark was sitting in group. When they were having snack, Mark was having snack. And he became less and less dependent on the teaching assistant and I.
I think inclusion for him has meant a tremendous impact upon his psychological and emotional well-being. He has a very, very positive self-image. He has great self-esteem. He just loves coming to school every day. He feels he's part of the gang, and I feel that inclusion has afforded him the opportunity to function with regular children in a regular classroom setting and enabling him basically to go on into society.
Mark's classmates have learned a lot from inclusion, too.
Nothing is better learned than when you teach it to somebody else or when you read to somebody else. I have children that are reading on a third grade level in a kindergarten classroom who really enjoy sitting in the library reading books to Mark or sharing stories with Mark or writing something about something they've done with Mark. And they are terrific models for him. Plus, I think that overall the classroom is more caring and sharing and very conscientious of how they treat other people.
Inclusion is not a miracle cure. Mark is mildly autistic. He will struggle. There are deficits that he must overcome. But this program has enabled him and given him a great start.
Our ability to learn from peers continues throughout our education. Inclusion at the high school level is just as valuable as it is in the early years.
We wanted to ensure that all kids belonged in our school system. And to achieve that, we first formed a Friends and Buddies Club, which assists students in their transition to the public school. Not only does it assist the more significantly handicapped students in their belonging here, but it also has a major impact on the students who are involved in the program, the friends.
I didn't even know many of the kids in the class or anything like that, and I hardly even knew that there was a class until Friends and Buddies. And now we have a lot of fun together, and I know that they're a lot more like I am. You know, like we're all the same and in the same boat together and in the same school. So we go to the same activities together and we have a lot of fun.
I guess one of the more dramatic things for me is that I've seen a tremendous response from our staff members as well, as they see more and more of the student population getting involved and including kids and becoming their friends and being there for them at dances and at football games and basketball games, what have you. More and more staff members are beginning to realize that all kids do belong. And I can truly say that the culture of our school is changing in a very positive way.
Because when I think back to when I was in kindergarten and all through my elementary school years and high school career, I never saw a youngster in my age group in a wheelchair. And I think as adults, it's difficult for us to interact with people who are handicapped, but if as young people we had had an opportunity, then we would know that they're just like us, that they're just like any other person that we've played with and talked with and grew up with and made friends with. Having the youngsters in the public school program with normal, should we say, children, not physically handicapped youngsters, is good for those youngsters because they do make friends and lasting friendships with them.
Participating in activities of the class is another essential element of inclusion. Inclusion fosters interaction. Children make it happen.
As I move into the classrooms and I see children who just last year or the year before were working in a self-contained special ed program and now are working all day in a regular ed program, I see that it can be done, that it's something that's very realistic. We have situations now where children who never got invited to birthday parties are being invited to birthday parties, who were never invited to go over to a friend's house after school are now being included. This is real critical.
We felt like it was important to include Karen Joy as a member of the Safety Patrol. One reason is that most of the fifth graders are safety patrols, and for her to really feel a part of what was going on in the part of the class, we wanted her included. she also wanted to be included because it's something that fifth graders really look forward to doing. It's considered a real honor at the school. I've been really pleased with her sense of responsibility. She always remembers her safety belt. It's very important to her, and the other kids really respect her, her ability to be a safety patrol member. We of course very carefully place her in a safety patrol position where she won't be put in a position where she has to make difficult decisions, or we have her working with the younger children, the kindergartners, and we always put in another safety patrol person with her as a partner. And those partners are always very willing to work with her, and they're very receptive to her, and they respect her for her responsibility as a safety patrol member. And it's been a really positive, happy experience for the other students in the class and for Karen Joy.
There have been many changes, and the result can be seen in the classroom. As a special ed teacher, I felt that my children, and I want to emphasize that I felt that they were my children, even if I only had them for 1 hour a day, that I somehow was responsible for their learning, and that the general ed classroom teacher was not. And that there were special techniques that I, as a special educator, could deliver. And I admit that I was wrong, that good teaching is good teaching, and that children learn from other children probably much more effectively than they learn from a specific technique.
It takes more than one person. It takes more than one principal. It takes more than one teacher. It takes a building and school commitment to inclusion, and everyone needs to be involved in that commitment, from the superintendent to the Board of Education to the principal to the teachers. It's a real team effort, and that has to be presented from the very beginning and a part of all the planning that you do, that no one is in this alone, that it's a complete team effort.
Inclusion has brought significant changes to the way educators work with children that have disabilities. When done correctly, there are benefits for everyone involved: teachers, pupils with disabilities, and all the pupils in the class. In the long run, there are also tremendous benefits for the larger society.
It's been very interesting having Dan Ryder in our class. You know, he came in and a lot of the children had questions about him in terms of why was he in a wheelchair, was he a baby, why was he here. I have seen in him greater strength in his ability to hold his head up. He has memorized so many poems. He has indicated great mental ability that if you looked at his body, you would think perhaps that wasn't there, but it is there. The children are very protective, very loving toward him. I don't think they'll ever look at another person in a wheelchair and think that they are a can't-do person. Dan Ryder has had a very positive impact on our class. They are considerate of him. I think that their sensitivity to other people's needs have been heightened. They have learned to think of someone beside themselves. He makes them laugh. He's always laughing. He is, with all of his problems, he's a guy who thinks that the world is his banana. He's happy, and he gives that to them. And so we feel that we are making tremendous progress in his physical strength. Certainly in his intellectual capacity has been stimulated. He's interested, he's motivated, he likes coming to school. Each week we have a poem that we practice and we try to memorize. It's all optional, you don't have to do it. And with Dan, of maybe the 12 or 13 poems that we have been practicing, he has memorized and learned maybe 8 or 9 of them verbatim. And each time that it happens, the children listen and he says it and they sort of lean forward like E.F. Hutton, is he going to do it? And he does. And they are so excited for him. He's like, you know, it's a thrill for them to see him succeed because he's like that, he's part of them. And when he succeeds, they feel that they can too.
Inclusion is really part of a greater goal, to help society look at someone with a disability and think of them as a can-do person. With inclusion, all students can experience very positive results.
The most positive thing I can say about inclusion is it works. Special ed benefits, regular ed benefits, and faculty benefits.
While inclusion has been very successful, it's important to recognize that it takes planning and careful decision-making. But with careful consideration of the individual student, the success of inclusion is clearly cause for celebration.
I think for the first time, kids now have the opportunity to really be a part of the school system, and they have a real future. Our kids have unlimited potential.
You've just seen a small sample of the schools in New Jersey that are providing successful inclusive education programs to pupils with disabilities. By giving these pupils the opportunity to learn and play alongside of their non-disabled peers, we provide them with the foundation for an adult life that will see them as participating and contributing members of the community.